This is Review Your Gear Radio with your host Chris Husted and Jason Renner. Coming to you with the latest topics, reviews, and techniques for hunting and fishing in the Midwest. And here they are, Chris and Jason. Take it away, boys.
Hello, Review Your Gear Radio. I'm Chris Husted.
Jason Renner.
This is Season 4, Episode 19. It's the Let's Roll Into the Hunting Season edition. Why is that, sir?
Because I should have brought egg rolls.
I didn't have a comeback for that. That is very rare. You left me speechless. And I know, yeah. Probably because fishing season's really starting to wind down.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a pretty good turnover here in the lake because those nights are really cooling off. I mean, look at the temperature change from like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. But did you see the forecast?
Uh-uh.
It's going to get back up almost to 80 again.
Oh, geez. So might delay the turnover a little bit.
Yeah, mid to next week, mid to late. It's looking like, especially Thursday, light wind, 78 degrees. Yeah. Can you say fishing?
Fishing.
Now, with that being said, we're recapping the Yar-Craft Owners Tournament in Garrison. It was a really good time. Cannot complain about a single thing. Congrats to the winners. We took like 13th or something.
I was trying to do the math because they put
whatever we took. We had 13 and change. We had a few nice fish, and then we had to weigh a couple 117 and 18, a 20, a 22, and a 24, give or take.
So you guys made the run.
Yeah, we made the run. I'd say we went about 45, 48 miles, depend how you look at it.
So did you guys jig wrap?
We jig wrapped and chubbed. There was two other tournament boats sharing the same hump. We kind of got in line and kept away from each other.
Yeah.
We all had the same idea. And it worked slick because all three of us were spot locked about 100 feet apart, I'd say. So it was close enough where you could see clearly what's going on.
Yeah.
So I bet if all three of us combined our fish, we would have had a really good bag. Problem is, both of those boats got a kicker. We got some nice mid ones, like a 22, 23 and a 24, 25. Just nothing huge, obviously.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it sounds like a lot of the big weights came from the back of Douglas. Believe it or not.
Shallow water.
Pretty shallow. But we were finding pre-fishing a lot of fish between that 14 to 30 foot range. Well, when you get up to 30, that's obviously still deep. But this time of year, it's starting to get shallow again.
It's a little unusual for this time.
A lot of guys were jig wrapping deep. Our jig wraps weren't working as well. It was weird, but the chubs were. So we got most of our fish on chubs. I literally had my hand on the rod, the chub rod, the whole time holding it, and mine had by far the most action all day. So I'm glad I didn't dead stick it.
Okay, so are you back to using the tournament from Shields?
Yes, I was using that with the bait caster. Because let's face it, if you're holding it with one hand and then doing whatever with the other, and you feel a tick, you just push the button.
Yeah.
You can't get the simplicity of that with a spinning reel.
That's a great setup. I mean, you can run bouncers with that. You can run whatever. That's a great setup.
Well, with the rod is nice because you put all the tension on the rod. Obviously,
yeah.
It's got a really good bend. You just take your time getting that. We were spot locked in about 40 feet.
Okay.
For the most part, we had fish going really well at the same spot in that 20 to 28 range. And they were there on tournament day. They would not go. They would not go. We did not get any fish up shallow.
So the lockjaw was up on the shallow.
Yeah. And so when we slid out, that's when they started to go. But anyways, the Weathermen, said it was going to blow 16 with gusts to 24. Ended up blowing 26, gusting to 39 out of the west-northwest.
Well, it's the Yar-Craft. That's supposed to be one of the best boats. The Weatherman's got a
To be fair, when it blows like that out of the west on Lake Sakakawea, it doesn't matter what boat you're running. It's going to be a bouncy ride. I did have those airwaves. I did post that on social. Those, I'm not sponsored, but those airwave seats. Now, I know a lot of guys say, no, you got to go with Wave Pros. I've never been on a Wave Pro, but the airwave was fine to me. Yeah. I mean, my back is maybe a hint sore because I had darn near a 2-hour run back. But
okay, what's the difference? I know it's smooth moves.
Yeah, smooth moves. I've heard with smooth moves, and I'm not bashing the company, so I got to make sure I get this right. But I've heard that their suspension is almost too good, where on a big wave, you darn near go fly out of your seat. Huh. It's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I can say I know it. I've been on smooth moves, but never in extreme waves.
Yeah, my brother's got them on his, but we were never...
You've never been in extreme waves, I know?
Real bad ones, no. We usually kind of...
And to be fair, too, where you guys fish so close to the landing, usually if you're salmon fishing, right?
Well, that, or even if we, say we run to Douglas or...
I get it, yeah.
I mean, we just don't have to go that distance. I mean, plus... My brother with his knees I don't think he could take that anymore. I mean,
right.
He's got one full knee replacement and the second one probably on the way. So don't want to beat the snot out of him.
Sure. Sure. But no, with that being said, fishing is still really good up in the Big Lake. You
remember a year, seriously, when it was this solid of fishing?
It's been pretty darn good all year, consistently. For me, it's been hard really to stay on a pot of big fish, but the numbers are, the numbers are there. And the fish are healthy, they're fat.
It's been good almost in every section of the lake since May.
Yeah.
You've heard good reports everywhere.
And I'm hearing, and a lot of guys are saying most of the fish are already going up the river. Towards Newtown and up that area.
Or is there just that many fish in the system right
now? You and I both know it's not like every walleye in the system goes up the river. That's a total farce because each bay and even the main lake, there's its own populations.
Correct.
And there's the migratory fish, and it's like there's different breeds of walleye in there.
Oh, and how did I put this the other day? We were talking about it up in Grand Forks. They're talking about it, and I was like, you take a bay like Douglas Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Douglas Bay in itself is bigger than 90% of the lakes in North Dakota and Minnesota.
So you're basically what you're getting at is it's almost its own ecosystem in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a bay on it.
Right. And that's a good example because Douglas, it's always good. Just somewhere.
There's always fish.
If you know the guys that have cabins out there and spend a lot of time, they
never leave the bay.
They don't really have to.
And it's one of those things where on a day like you're predicting, if you can find that bay bite.
Yep. I would have loved to have the time, to find the bay bite, but I'm hats off to those guys that did. They only had to run 5 miles. Us yutzes were driving almost 50. So,
and that's one way.
One way, right? So we're running 100. They're running 10.
Yeah,
good for them.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're laughing all the way to the bank today.
Cha-ching.
Let's have some tales from the Chub Tank.
Tales from the Chub Tank.
Like I said, the Chubs worked well. The pre-fishing, actually, I'm not going to be one of those guys that said, oh, our pre-fishing was, we were on so many big fish. No, we did have some nice fish come up, obviously, but When we did use chubs pre-fishing, when we were sitting on a pot of fish, you could see the screen light up. We'd put those things down. It didn't take long.
Yeah.
Same with the jig wraps, though. Friday, we had 3 spots, or my first 3 spots I pre-fished. Friday morning, we pulled up to about 22 feet on one spot where we ended up fishing for the tournament. Miles started jig wrapping for about 3 seconds, had about 24, 25.
Gotcha.
Marks everywhere. We left. Went to the next spot, same thing, 22, left. Went up to Independence Point, which is the only thing I would have regretted. I wish I would have gone up there for at least an hour or two at some point in the mid-morning, but there was so many fish up there. We dropped chubs for about 10 minutes. I think we had 3 or 4 fish and missed one. I mean, it's as fast as you could put them down.
I mean, that's...
And also, we had one that was about 24, 25 there, a couple of 20s. I mean, it was one of those, like, we spent 3 hours driving around looking, fish for about 20 minutes, and caught like 8 fish.
Yeah.
And 3 were good. So, yeah.
What's wrong with that?
No. The only thing that worried me about tournament day is, fuel. Considering I'm still kind of new to the boat, I was kind of afraid about fuel consumption. Now, we could have filled up at Indian Hills, but that's just more time you got to add and figure. The tournament was a 7-hour tournament, not an 8, so you're already a little short. Just, you had to make decisions. We didn't move.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But chubs were the ticket for us. I ended up giving the chubs away. A buddy of ours is going to use them for the Lewis and Clark showdown up in Williston. The big show.
Big show.
30 grand first place.
$1,000 to get in, though.
Yep.
You got to pay to play.
Yeah, pay to play. But that, you know what, though? You put a big purse, if people show.
Oh, yeah.
It's been proven.
Now, what are the boundaries for that?
I believe it is. I know it's Newtown Bridge on the south end. I cannot remember what it is.
I bet you it's the same as the Women of the Water.
Or the other bridge? Yeah, the 2 bridges. I think that's what it is.
So, I mean, that's kind of
There's a lot of fish moving up the river, though.
Yeah, intermediate river. We call that almost an intermediate river zone.
Sure.
Because it's not quite... It can be river if the lake's low enough, and it could be lake. It's kind of like south of Pittsburgh. I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of like that Hazelton to Cattail stretch.
I wonder how the Antelope Flats, just upriver from the Newtown Bridge. I know that's a spring spot, but these fall fish move into spring patterns.
It's got to be solid.
And then you'll have those fish already up in the river.
Yeah.
So that's a guess. I am not a pro when it comes to the river.
That end of the lake / Missouri River.
Yep.
That's a mystery for us.
Well, because we just don't get up there that often. I get up there in the spring. I try to every year for one day from Reunion to Antelope or White Earth, and it's good. It is. Yeah. Early June, the numbers, you can catch 100 fish in a day.
Correct. But, I mean, for those of you that don't know, I mean, Sakakawea is, 120 miles of east to west, when you think about it.
Okay.
I mean, when you think about it, when you're talking...
Now, when you say, what do you consider west?
I'm Williston.
Oh, way up there.
I consider that the end of Sakakawea, technically.
Isn't that even further than that?
It might. Sometimes it is. Correct.
If you were to run from Highway 83 to Williston, that's got to be more than 120. It's more than 120. It is.
Well, you got the north factor into it, but I'm talking...
I'm sure, it's funny.
As the crow flies.
Navionics, you could put 2 pins and it'll figure it out for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what we need to do, but I think it's longer. I would guess as a crow flies closer to 140, 150.
I mean, that's...
Because when the NWT was here in May of whatever that was, 18, 19, or 20?
Yeah.
19, 20, whatever. guys were running 110 miles to like that White Earth area, I believe.
Yeah. So to put in perspective, though, I mean, from Beach, North Dakota to Fargo, what is that? It's probably about 350.
About that.
And when you think about it, Sakakawea is takes up 120, 150 of that.
Right.
That's almost half a state.
No, you're right. It's got a curve to it. It's obviously not a straight. That was another thing coming back yesterday, not to keep going on, but the wind at its angle, you had the section, for example, by Berthold where it sticks out into the lake.
Yeah.
The main section, and those waves they were rolling the whole lake.
Oh, jeez.
It was naughty. But lots of good duck hunts. I haven't talked to too many guys, but judging by Facebook and other socials, it looks like it was a pretty good opener here.
Yeah, it was a good opener. There's a lot. It seems like there's a lot of young ducks that were shot, and overall weather. It was a little windy for a lot of guys, especially in the water. But
wind is good for waterfowl. It makes them fly.
See, on a day like yesterday, I like to find a piece of water that's close to big water.
That's how it's hidden.
That's hidden?
Yeah, it's like down in a little... Yep.
Because the birds might not be there per se that day before, but if you know the wind's going to be blowing out a certain direction, at least 20, those birds don't like to be in that big water. They'll find some smaller one per close by. I mean, it's just what they naturally do.
What's you have a busy work week?
Yeah.
You don't have a day for you don't. I know you said at night. We really should try to sneak out one day this week. It's just not going to happen, is it?
I doubt it. I highly doubt it this week.
Now your boss is listening. He's like, "Don't even try." Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, well, no. Stop this past weekend and stuff, so I'm sure he wouldn't even.
I know. I'm joking, of course, but this is the week to do it for us. As a resident of North Dakota, the opening weekend's pretty busy, and then it dies down for 5 days. Do you know what we used to do? This is mean. I used to love to duck hunt on Friday evening. The last evening you can hunt resident only, because we would always save what you would call a ticket pond, or I would call it transition slough, and one where some nights we have 4 or 5 vehicles watching, when we're raining ducks and they can't play. I know it's mean, but but it's the end of it, because literally the next morning, I'm just being honest, here in North Dakota, non-resident opener is probably the busiest morning of the season.
Correct. The only thing there's only 2 mornings busier in the hunting ground in North Dakota:
deer opener
and festival.
Okay, no, I don't disagree, but duck hunter, non-resident, simply for the amount of visitors here on top of residents hunting.
Correct. Because you have residents hunting, but you have Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, Michigan plate on every piece of public land with slough on it almost.
No, it is what it is. So it's not like, but it's
public property.
That's why we would hunt Friday evening too, because we would sleep in Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Because we didn't scout. We just hunted Friday evening.
And, it's great for Denhoff. It's great for Gackle. It's great for all these great little bars we've all been in.
Here's the one question. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Let's take a town such as Gackle. And I'm going to pick Gackle because I know people there and I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what's going on. When it's a popular duck town, a lot of guys, I've heard, I don't know what percentage, so I don't want to guess, but I've heard a high volume of the town is owned by non-residents for duck hunting.
Okay.
The only downfall, if there is they're here for 2 weeks versus someone who could be living in that house in the community 52 weeks.
Correct.
So, yes, in October, that town's a busy place.
Yeah.
You go there outside of duck season, it's a quiet place.
The one thing about Gackle, in a couple local farmers when we used to hunt down there.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you guys from? North Dakota. Oh, nobody ever from North Dakota asks us to hunt. Yeah, you're welcome in. We're just kind of.
You got down there, you have a little bit of it, everything.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it was just shocking that they were surprised there was North Dakota people hunting around there.
Right. Well, there is a lot of locals that hunt around there, believe it or not, but, especially because of Duck Fest and,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Gackle's put on the map. People know it for duck hunting. So again, I'm just, like I said, I was playing devil's advocate in the fact that, what is stronger to a small town?
Correct.
Yeah, but if someone's going to move there to said small town USA, North Dakota, you need jobs.
Correct. But to be fair, these days, how many jobs can he do from home?
That's a great see. 20 years ago, when I was really big and when internet was blowing up and I was on the forefront, I really felt like we should have done that as a state. We should have done tax breaks, things of that nature to bring e-commerce and things of that nature into the state. So because as long as UPS will come to your house in the postal service, you can compete with anyone else online in the country.
But I mean, you can go on to LinkedIn or
remote.
You don't have to. You have to. The requirement is you have to be within, I think, 60 minutes of a major airport in case they have to fly you someplace for training or something.
Okay.
I think that's the limitation.
Right.
But what town in North Dakota isn't 60?
It's amazing how that's changed. And I've seen, not to get political, but it's interesting when they show reports, people don't want to go back to the office anymore either. It's things have changed.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Also, deer.
Oh,
there's been some nice deer taken in velvet this year.
Oh God, big deer. I seen a couple real nice ones out of the Castleton area.
Okay.
Oh, beauties.
One Troy Hofford showed me a pic last night. One of the youngins with what was it? I can't remember, but it was like a 6x6 in velvet, long tines. I don't know what it scored, but
yeah,
unreal deer.
I do like the youth season now that they, like the first 2 years, they make you shoot a doe. But the one thing that still gets me is a lot of these kids that when they get their first buck tag and they're able to hunt by themselves and they shoot these monster deer. That's their first buck ever, and it's just this monster buck. And then after that, you got to start hunting with all the rest of us. And I get it hooks them and stuff like that, but I mean, you're 14 years old, you drill the biggest deer in your life.
It's all downhill from there, son. You're going to have to pay for deer like that when you're older. Anywho, let's take a break. We'll be right back here on Review Your Gear Radio. And we're back here on Review Your Gear Radio. We're going to retire, ladies and gentlemen, the Mille Minute. We made our point. The lake, like the state of Minnesota, is the land of 10,000 regulations. And again, I grew up fishing Minnesota, so I hate to give Minnesota crap, but that's got to be frustrating. It's funny how Minnesota and North Dakota, as a DNR / game and fish approach, is almost the exact opposite for the most part. In North Dakota, it's wide open in terms of and again, we have 350 lakes versus 10,000.
Correct.
So they have a lot more real estate to manage, but like everything is pretty much wide open. Like there's not so many regulations and each lake isn't so unique for the most part.
Correct. And we also don't have the native/commercial fishing industries that Minnesota has on some of those lakes.
Okay.
That's another big, well, and even into Wisconsin and Michigan. That is controversial to a lot of fishermen, is the regulations or non-regulations that are put on some of the tribes, but they're just doing supposedly what they've done for millions of
But
years.
to be fair, I'm just curious, how many lakes, for example, in Minnesota are on a reservation versus public?
Correct.
So, I mean, there's plenty of lakes you could choose from if you think there's an issue with what's going on in the commercial industry. But for example, like Mille Lacs, you don't have to fish Mille Lacs. You can go to another lake.
Correct.
But, a lot of people go there because you catch a lot of nice fish.
And it's not even to our neighbors to the east. It's our neighbors to the north, too, because there's a lot of people that are upset over the commercial fishing of Lake Winnipeg.
Did you hear? It sounds like September 30th, they're contemplating dropping the COVID mandate at the border.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I saw that on social. I'll be honest, I didn't read heavy into it, but I saw September 30th and end of mandate. I got to check the validity. I haven't seen anything public official yet.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out for that. That'll change things.
Yeah, that'll push.
There's a lot of people that aren't going to Canada hunting fish because of the mandate.
But,
so let's start a new segment, Mr. Renner.
Right.
How about what's the ice thickness on Lake Audubon?
We'll have to do that because it's getting to be that time.
It's getting to be close that time of year.
We could even have a contest. When will Nelson Bay be frozen up?
How about this?
Wow, nice verbiage there, Ren.
How about this? When will Nelson Bay be froze up enough to walk on and fish? Because I'll be there that day. I always am. I just like that bay for early ice, not because you're catching huge ones, but you catch a lot of fish and it's easy. It's an easy walk.
I just don't get how that bay ices up so quick.
I don't know if it's because it's protected a little bit. It's from the wind. It's got to be something like that.
The narrowness of it.
Something.
Yeah,
it always freezes first.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm. But that'll be our new segment, I think, from now on. What is the ice thickness on Lake Audubon? Because it is funny, because in a few weeks, you'll start seeing that on the social media, like groups and forums and whatever. Guys will be asking. As soon as it gets like 20 degrees one night, people will be asking what's the thickness.
But to be fair, there's also been a lot of pictures of open water and 100 yards over on Audubon.
Oh,
somebody with an ice house.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that lake it's a funny lake. People test it every single winter.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I've been one of them.
Yeah.
I like to see 3-4 inches of ice and I'll walk out with a spud bar, of course. But the good thing is from shore, typically I park, I walk along shore to where I know I want to be. And then I walk out about 15, 20 yards on the ice and start drilling.
Yeah. No.
It's not rocket science.
No.
So, Mr. Renner, what is the best? I think we've had this before, but let's have it again. The best all-around shotgun in 2022.
Yeah.
All around. For if you were to go buy one shotgun and use it for everything, only one.
I'd have to go with an all-rounder.
Okay. I don't disagree. Do you have a brand you would go with? Would you? I know what you're going to say. Can I guess? Would it be a Satori or the 686?
I do like the Satoris. I like the Brownings.
They're very nice.
Spendy.
I almost purchased one, but I went with the Beretta.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, I picked up a used Frankie.
It'll work.
It'll work.
It'll go bang twice.
Yeah. That one kind of had sentimental value because my dad had the same model.
Okay.
Only in a left hand. and he kind of, when his health declined, he sold it because it kind of, I don't know, pay some medical bills or something like that. So kind of to pick up that same model, I think it's a Altuve or El Cone is what it is, model. The same that he had is, it's kind of like picking up a little bit of my dad. So that's kind of the reason behind it. But I think the Berettas are nice. The Satoris are nice. The Weatherbees are kind of nice in the over and unders.
Okay. I've never shot a Weatherby over and under, so I don't know. I'm kind of surprised. I was kind of expecting you to say the 870.
That, to me, is the best overall. Every guy should, it's affordable. It's reliable. I mean,
Everyone should own one.
Yeah.
As a backup, at least.
I mean, because it's a pump, and it's a pump that, okay, I'm going to drop it in the slough, come back a week later, I'm going to pick it up, scrape off the rust, and it's still going to work. I mean, it's that reliable. I mean, that system just flat works.
It just, yeah, it's a no frills, no thrills gun. It's easy to clean, and it goes bang.
And
3 times.
You can find them new, you can find them used, and you're not spending a ton of money.
Yep. You can come home with it and not feel like you just got raked over the coals. Mr. Renner, let's have some headlines. So let's give it back to the old meat eater peeps. New world record for a rifle shot set in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So this is interesting. It was 7,774 yards or 4.4 miles. That's a long shot. It took a 422 grain bullet of the 416 Barrett, took 24 and a half seconds to reach its target. And the team actually took 69 shots to get it into an 8-inch circle.
8-inch.
8-inch circle.
That's
incredible.
Impressive.
They said hitting the center circle was equivalent to putting a bullet in the area size of a pinhead at 100 yards.
So that is, congratulations to this team that did that.
They said every time, the wind was obviously the biggest factor. While it was calm, anytime there was a single mile per hour change, they had to adjust the point of aim 26 feet.
Yeah, but if you're 4 miles.
4.4.
4.4 miles.
To be exact.
How many, and I'm sure Jackson Hole's that's at altitude. I mean, there's got to be some type of updrafts and stuff. There's so many variables to that.
They said it was a calm. They did in the morning when it was calm. But like I said, I mean, even a 1 mile per hour wind, 26-foot differential. So that's
that is impressive. Congratulations to that gear.
2 men arrested for shooting multiple deer in Florida.
Bad boys.
These guys, they don't look happy in their mugshots. They were driving around and they got a call that some shady activity was going on. They waited and watched as they hit the brakes, turned off their lights, and went out to retrieve a deer. Rolled up, and the guys had 3 deer in the back of the truck, including 1 small buck that wasn't even big enough for Florida standards.
Correct.
You know, it kind of makes you wonder, honestly, how much do you think that does poaching, big game poaching, happen, do you think, nationwide? I mean, I know it varies state by state.
You know, the biggest thing there is, you remember back in 2010, 2011, the big oil boom in
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I heard from not only the cops, but game wardens and stuff out in oil country is the amount of poaching that was happening out there.
Yeah.
Because you had a lot of money, a lot of guns, and a lot of bored guys in the middle of nowhere.
And what's going on? What are guys doing at night when a lot of said poaching is happening?
Correct.
Boozing. So you're not making the best decisions because nobody makes their best decisions under the influence.
Plus, the other thing, when these guys did lose their jobs, sometimes they're poaching to feed themselves.
Well, that goes. I get it.
You know,
but with reasons for said poaching aside, it just always makes you wonder how much is happening. Now, this is an interesting one, and it comes from the New York Post. There's a lawsuit filed over a fishing tournament over a polygraph test. Now, this is okay. What happened is there was a fishing tournament, I think it was out of Florida, and it was along the coast. No, Rhode Island, my bad. And they were going for the biggest tuna, etc. Well, the guy reeled in a 200-pound big eye, just under, and it was big enough for fourth place and for the largest tuna in the competition, earning him just under 200 grand. 199,880. And that's what he won through the Calcuttas and whatever.
Yeah.
So the guys, they have 7 days to submit a polygraph. However, they had them do it immediately. They failed. And they cite their reasons were, dude, we just won a huge tournament and a couple hundred grand. They claimed they were drunk. So now you have a lawsuit coming back at the fishing tournament because they took the 200 grand away.
So I guess what are they asking, if they caught a fish, or did they just go out and...
No, where they failed is the question was whether he'd followed tournament rules concerning equipment or knew of any tournament infractions. The examiner claimed his responses indicated deception, according to the litigation. However, they later hired another third party for another lie detector when they were sober, and they both passed. But that was thrown out.
Ugh. That's ugly.
It is ugly. And, on a big tournament like this, it's no different than most tournaments I've ever been in, even on the smaller level. Polygraphs are there for a reason.
Well, most of the big bass tournaments in Texas.
How many of our tournaments have them? Most. That doesn't mean they ever get used, but push comes to shove.
If you win any pot in the state of Texas, over 1,000, any prize over 1,000, you are automatically submitted to a polygraph test, I guess, down there.
That's crazy.
I mean, think of how many
I get it, because there's so many ways guys can cheat, but wow,
Yeah, well, look at the big bass shootout at Lake Fork. They're handing out $10,000 prizes every hour times 2 half days. I mean, there's got to be a ton of cheating, and you can win multiple prizes during those days,
right?
Because you just got to go in during that hour and weigh your fish,
right?
So, I'm sure there's some dog kennels and all that stuff involved, and I get why they're doing it. So,
right. So, Mr. Renner,
yes,
the snow geese, they're coming. First indicators coming from Canada are the hatch was pretty darn good. It seems like the one group that was hit the hardest in the tundra was the far west, which closer to Alaska, it sounds.
Okay.
But I think the Northwest Territories, for the most part, all the way to Hudson Bay, weren't bad. Now, I haven't heard, obviously, from every, tundra is a huge place. And I'm just going off of opinions I hear. But when you're talking to outfitters that are out there every day and they're telling you about, what they're seeing for harvest, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, hey, we're shooting a lot of gray.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm excited. Some tricks to hunting snow geese. Now, boy, Canada or in the States. I'll start with the States because you can't use an e-collar in the fall.
You can in Canada.
You can in Canada. And that's amazing.
I wonder, I know why they do it. Because they're afraid that, from what I heard, because it calls too many of the Canada.
Non-snow geese species.
Yeah,
Right.
that's their thing behind it. But I mean, isn't that population still kind of teetering on a natural disaster one of these days from destroying the tundra and stuff like that?
Well, the way I see it, snow geese, yes, they destroy the tundra because there's so many numbers, and the way they grub
yeah,
and take the roots and the tuber, they take everything. And it takes a long time for that to bounce back in that environment.
They're feeding on what, tubers, right? Like they're called tuber reeds,
right?
Yeah.
But they pull it all out, and
Yeah.
there's nothing left. However, it appears to me that they just move when they come back the next year.
Okay.
They just slide down to new ground.
It's almost like grazing, and then they let an area come back. Okay, yeah, all right.
But I think it takes like decades for an area to come back. I don't know the exact, but I just remember it took, when I heard the statistic when back in the day when I read my first articles on it.
I guess I should have phoned a biologist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you may know one, but I'm sure you've seen the pictures up in Canada where they fence off a small stretch in the snow goose tundra, so you see what it's supposed to look like,
compared
versus
to
how it is.
Yeah.
So it's luckily for snow geese, the tundra is a huge place.
Well, the one thing that gets me is some of these guys on these on the websites where these guys are going out and they're harvesting snow goose eggs and they actually eat them up there. That's part of their diet. They're like, oh my god, you guys are gonna ruin our hunt. I'm like,
dude, yeah, I get
so many geese.
I know that's not even a percentage of a percentage.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, these guys are. This is normal for the people that live up there.
But tricks to hunting snow geese, obviously, hunting snow geese is a numbers game. That makes it hard. I would call the barrier to entry for snow geese is the hardest barrier to entry, because it's like duck hunting. You can go and buy a few dozen floaters and get started. Canada's, you can buy like 4 dozen full bodies, get started, or 10 dozen silhouettes, same price, whatever.
Snow geese, go get a loan.
Snow geese, you're spending 4 figures to get started. You just are.
So here's my big question for you. Okay, we're talking tips.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're getting started, should you invest in quantity over quality?
I would say so.
Okay.
With that being said, so your first argument, really, if you're saying that, is should you go for full bodies or socks?
Correct.
That's essentially what it is. Everyone is gaga over full bodies, and for good reason. When you put out a big spread of full bodies, I'm not going to lie, I've hunted over many big spreads. They look amazing. Largest full body spread I've ever been in is about 2,200.
Okay.
Snows with rotary machines, the whole nine. But you know what? It was in South Dakota during the migration. Guess how many birds we harvested that day?
4.
6. So, even though you're putting out, there's a time and place.
Yeah.
With that being said, just because you put out full bodies in a field doesn't mean it's going to rain snow geese. So I'm still a sock guy, and I've been hunting snow geese a very long time, for quite a few decades now. That's when you start sounding old.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I still rock socks, and like in the fall, it depends on situations. If you're on an X and it's going to be dirty with a lot of young birds, 4 or 5, you can get away with 40 dozen.
Gotcha.
Socks. I like to say it's more of a numbers game. However, if you're on a strong windy day, you don't want to have a really big spread anyways. You don't want them to shortstop you. You got to be in the downwind side of the spread. So, but on a calmer day, you want to cover as much real estate as possible. So it is a numbers game, and obviously socks makes it more affordable to get there.
Correct.
So also, I think you really need to have a few rotary machines. They're like Lucky or Robo Ducks or spinners or whatever.
Yeah.
For ducks, just because you have them doesn't mean it's an automatic, but there are times that, especially on juvies, they just eat those things up. It's just that motion, especially on a dead calm day.
Yeah.
Gives them something to key in on. Also, if you use like 2 or 3 rotaries is all with like 3 to 6 clones, I've had really good luck with combining those. There are a lot of clone-like imitators on the market. I don't know what it is, but the clones work better. But again, doesn't mean just because you put clones out, doesn't mean the geese are going to reign. You still need to be where they want to be in the field or wherever to bring them in. So, and then again, in the spring, if you're hunting during the migration, biggest spread possible. Go huge. If you're hunting X's for juvies, you can get away with, again, 400, 500.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Renner, what's cooking on the stone?
What's cooking on the stone?
I brought my Blackstone up and my small portable. Use that a bit. Boy, is that nice.
Oh, yeah.
Say it again. It is nice. I wanted to make breakfast on it, but you're like, I wake up in the morning. The last thing I want to do is eat.
Yeah.
When I wake up. So, but at night for burgers, things like, love that.
And it cooks so much food so quickly. And you can do so much with it.
Especially the big one.
Yeah.
You can do pretty much most feasts in one shot.
Correct.
Unless you're cooking for an army.
I'm doing chicken parm tonight.
I'm gonna do. Wait, but aren't you going to put it in the oven in the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. Making me nervous there.
No.
Like, how are you going to finish it, Renner? You could, I guess, with cover. Technically.
No, but I'll put it in.
Yeah,
actually,
I know.
I'm probably going to have the pellet grill at about 350 warmed up next to it. And I'm just going to finish it there.
Nice.
Yeah, you're going to make fun of my man bun after that statement, but that's all right.
It's okay. So I saw you eating a salad earlier.
Yes.
Tell me about it again. We've had a few conversations through the years of the podcast where you're like, I'm going to do this. And then you get busy and it's hard to stick to a quote unquote diet.
Yeah. Again, I'm just controlling my portions, dropping a lot of the carbs out as much as possible. Like tonight, while the family is going to have probably chicken parm with pasta, I'm going to have it with zoodles.
Ugh.
I don't mind.
Honestly, I would just eat the parm. I wouldn't even go for either zoodles or noodles. But that's me.
I like my veggies, so hence why I'm doing it.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought about doing it on a bed of brown rice, which is not terrible for, carb-wise.
Yep.
But I don't know. I might do it on rice, too.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think, keeping carbs down for a lot of guys, I know how many guys, that like to drink beer. I mean, that is so, the carbs and the empty calories. I mean, I hate to say it, they're bad. Like you said, small portions are huge.
Yeah.
And you get used to smaller portions. When I started eating a lot less, I noticed myself getting fuller on a lot less.
The other thing is I'm adding kind of an extra meal in there of smaller portions.
So you're doing like 4 small meals?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Just like, and of course, it never hurts to have a little physical activity.
Correct.
Which gets harder as you get older. But
yeah, trust me, tomorrow morning after playing hockey tonight, I'm going to be a hurting unit.
Oh, please take care of those knees tonight. I'm serious, man. Your knee's going to be hurting tomorrow.
Well, it's not so bad because I wear a pretty hefty brace underneath the stuff.
You hurt when you walk, do you not?
No, it's not that bad.
It was just the other week, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember you telling me you were just bothering you.
Yeah. So no, I've done some things to kind of.
You're gonna have to get surgery.
Oh yeah, that's given. But I did.
You're just forcing the issue faster.
I got a cortisone shot at it. Like I said, I'll be wearing. I wear a pretty hefty knee brace underneath my stuff.
Ibuprofen probably wouldn't hurt either.
Oh, I chew ibuprofen like it's gum.
That sucks. Yeah, it is life as you get older.
And the funny thing is Miles, when he talks about his aches and pains, and I'm like, dude, you're what, 19? It's only going to get worse.
It does. But, he's got shoulder surgery coming up in a few weeks. If you got that many aches and pains, at a young age, it's, you got to take care of yourself. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but, when you're in a lot of physical activity type sports, like hockey is a prime example.
He played.
And I'm sure he played hard. So
he played very.
Yeah, it's hard. This coming from a guy who I did not play football or hockey. I played basketball and tennis, and I'm fortunate enough at this age, while I'm not great everywhere, I do have fantastic knees, shoulders, etc., joints.
You got the jumper's knee?
No. Really, the worst thing that really ever happened is I got my teeth knocked out when I was wearing braces. That was when I was playing basketball. An elbow to the face without a mouth guard. Yeah, that was fun.
But did you finish the game?
No, I kind of had to go for emergency surgery because my teeth were hanging out with braces. I know. I'm sorry for the visual, but it was not pretty. I think I was in 8th grade or 9th grade. Whatever. Long episode today, sir.
Again.
A lot to say. We took a week off, but we're going to get back into the routine. So, I'm Chris Husted.
Jason Renner.
This was Review Your Gear Radio.
Thanks for tuning in to Review Your Gear Radio. Be sure to tune in next episode, and don't forget to check out reviewyourgear.com. Also, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Till next time, tight lines and good times in the outdoors.